Cold open. In the cradle of dawn, in a quiet, undisrupted valley, a man unknowingly prepared the architecture of a blaze. Each day, with measured steps and absent thought, he ventured into the woods. His project was simple, or so he believed, a gentle warmth to break the chill. He gathered sticks, dry and brittle underfoot, each a token of minor neglect, a white lie whispered to soothe discomfort, a decision to overlook rather than confront. Taken one at a time, they were inconsequential in his palm. The pile in his garden grew undisturbed. When he glanced at the mound, he waved off concern with a murmur. "It's not a problem, just a small habit." But habits, like time, accumulate with quiet persistence. Months slipped into years, and the pile swelled to a mountainous effigy of disregard. Then one still evening, a moment of pressure, a gust of accountability, perhaps, touched the heap. The ignition was immediate. In an instant, that passive collection, those ignoble choices, transformed into a towering inferno. The small intentions became a monstrous bonfire, feeding on itself, consuming the quiet valley with every flicker. And so we are sharpened into our central question. How often do we build our own disasters, one small decision at a time, blind to the larger blaze we're igniting? The investigation. Panicked, the man raced to the perimeter of the flames. His instinct, driven by desperation rather than wisdom, reached for more sticks. He thought he could smother the fire by feeding it the very same materials that created it. His mind was ensnared by the blaze, locked in the logic that old habits might somehow rectify new chaos. More lies, he figured, might cover the original ones. More force could repress the burgeoning disorder. Every strike with a branch only added to the conflagration. Each time the fire burned back, it lashed at him, blistering his skin, scorching his resolve. Yet he was as trapped in action as he was in thought, compelled to confront the inferno with its own kindling. Around him, a crowd had gathered, drawn by the destructive allure of the blaze. Each one held their own story, their own sticks, their own fallacies of contribution. Among them, a young woman noticed something gleaming at the fire's edge, a bright plastic bottle, its vibrant colors stark against the ashen backdrop. She thought removing it might help, but her understanding of its materiality was as shallow as the man's confidence in his clearing efforts. With her stick, she hooked the bottle into the fire. The heat was immediate. The plastic didn't just burn, it liquefied, a molten cascade running with unnatural fluency. The molten river wrapped her arm in a searing embrace, a chemical bond that marked her with pain and permanence. What was intended to be a harmless contribution turned into an indelible scar. That fluorescent bottle was a marker of modern conveniences, deceptively simple yet capable of complex harm. Its sudden metamorphosis from solid to liquid exemplified how the simplest of matters can morph into complex problems when met with old and heated responses. The turning point. There was stillness amidst the chaos, a moment that could not be overlooked, one that signified a stark realization. The man's frantic struggle and the woman's frozen shock were testimonies to a truth resisted yet unavoidable. The fire, which grew from such small beginnings, thrived not on neglect alone, but on the compulsive use of broken tools, of broken logic. Their attempted solutions only fanned the flames, revealing how deeply entrenched were their habits, and how fundamentally flawed was the belief in familiar tools for unfamiliar crises. Here lay the turning point, the realization that fighting fire with fire only feeds the blaze. In a sobering epiphany, a choice emerged: to break the cycle of reaching for more sticks, to step away rather than feed the flames, to reassess instead of react. The path forward required not more sticks, but a smarter choice, a different mindset. The reckoning. For everyone watching, those who found themselves with a stick in hand, this moment beckoned a reckoning. The solution to a spiraling crisis is not more of the same. It is not more pressure, nor more seeking. It is the stillness found when you let go of the stick, drop the tools of old instincts, and step away from the intensity of the moment. This narrative is a critical reflection for any of us who have felt the encroaching heat of our own making. It's a plea to stop the show, the facade of control and contribution built on outdated behaviors. Sometimes, only in detachment can clarity emerge. Only in pause can innovation be found. Think, are there instances in your life where persistence and force only deepen the wound? Circumstances that call not for escalation but for disengagement? As we leave this valley, filled with embers of actions past, consider the scene that lingers. A field marked not by the marks of flame, but by the promise of renewal, should we choose to forsake the sticks and seek the water instead. The fire is more than a warning. It's an invitation to change course. When everything feels like it's veering into chaos, step back. The path unfurls not in compulsion, but in conscious choice. Will you reach for more sticks or find where the water flows? And so we end with a reflection. When your life feels like it's burning out of control, what will you choose to hold? In barren lands cracked by heat, where decisions are scrawled in ash, silence whispers its saving grace. Pause. In the quiet, reflection offers refuge from the relentless push forward. Beneath the surface of apparent desolation, a resilience patiently waits, nurtured by every decision to pause over every impulse to rush. Understanding the intrinsic value of this momentary suspension yields profound rewards. Within the charred landscape lies the seed of potential, which can sprout in the wake of mindful contemplation. As we draw closer to the heart of our narrative, we examine the power of choice embedded within our capacity to think and feel deeply. History lays testament to countless moments where humanity has stood at similar crossroads, deciding between paths that burn brightly but briefly and those that sustain a subdued but enduring flame. When people choose the latter, progress is engraved not in the fleeting flare of conquest, but in the steady glow of collective perseverance. Consider the cooling embrace of water, not as a force to extinguish, but as life that returns to parched earth. It reshapes where fire has scarred, introducing the humility essential for rejuvenation. Recognizing the cycles of destruction and growth, we learn from the ancients who painted on cave walls the stories of survival and triumph. Each symbol echoes not the dominance of one element over another, but the harmony required among them. In our modern era, where technology races ahead and the pace of life accelerates ever forward, the urgency to pause becomes more pressing. Within this pause lies an invitation to embrace a balance between innovation and sustainability, to forge new ways that honor both the natural world and our place within it. It requires courage to resist the allure of immediacy, and wisdom to seek lasting impacts over instantaneous results. And thus, having journeyed through the metaphors of element and choice, we look toward a future cradled by intentionality. The narrative concludes not with a definitive end, but an open-ended question. How will we, as individuals being swept by currents stronger than fire or water, draft stories worthy of the telling? We leave with this lingering thought. In moments of stillness, we discover our ability to script the future in line with our deepest convictions, grounding in our collective journey through time.